Okay. Hey thieves, what's going on? I think the last time I did a video was when Nicki Minaj responded to Remy Ma Shita, no frauds. So I know it's been a minute. I just been busy and been trying to set some things up, and I apologize. But today I am back because Maino dropped his album Party&Pain, and it was really good. I'm not the biggest fan of Maino, but he was on the Everyday Struggle, which is Joe Budden's podcast that he has with Complex. And I just like the way he was articulating his thoughts and giving his perspective on today's hip hop. So I'm like, okay, let me go check him out. And I've seen him do Instagram videos that have been featured on the Shade Room, where he's basically giving uplifting messages to the youth about being true to yourself and not conforming to what society or what your friends or people that peer pressure you try to make you to conform to. And yeah, so I followed him, and then come to find out he had an album on the way. He also talked about his album on the podcast. So I woke up this morning, went to take a shower. I downloaded the album. He dropped it on datpiff.com for the Android users at midnight, and I was looking on Apple Music. I didn't see it, but luckily when I woke up, it was there. It was about, let me look at my notes, 16 tracks. I'm gonna try not to make this video too long, but I'm just gonna try to run through them and give my perspective and my interpretation of what I think the message is. I listened to the album 3 times, so hopefully you guys agree with me, and hopefully the way I broke down the songs and deciphered the messages that he was trying to convey, it resonates with what you guys thought. So the album opens up with an Instagram clip. I've actually heard this clip before, and it's called Be Me. It's the intro. And he is basically talking about he can't be no one else but himself. If he wants to get to where he needs to be in the music industry, he has to be himself. Maino debuted his first album, if I'm not mistaken, in 2005. The culture of hip hop, music, and rap, and how you was able to garner a fan base and get spins on the radio, has drastically changed over the 12 years. We are now in 2017. And he always talks about how people be like, yo, like, use your Instagram platform. Like, don't you want to do this and that to get likes? And one of my favorite quotes by him is, I don't even do shit to be loved. So what the fuck I look like doing shit to be liked? Like, y'all know Maino is a street dude. Like, he's from the streets. He served time in jail for drug related charges. So he just refuses to conform to what hip hop is and rap is today. He just stays in his lane and does him, and he feels like the success and the money will just come with that. So it was just a short little clip. His first actual song, which is the second track, is Helicopters. I really enjoy this song because it gives me that Dreams and Nightmares vibes, like with Meek Mill, when he's basically rapping over like a nice melody, and then the beat drops, and then it just picks up, and it's like a get hype song. I could definitely see it being played on Hot 97 or Power 105. I'm in New York City, obviously. Throughout the midday and the nights and like on the weekends, because it is a get hype song. And basically, he talks about how he was unaware how much pain the game could bring him, and he was unaware of how fake the industry is. And one quote that stuck out to me was when he said, "They don't love you unless you dress like a drag queen." And I feel like he was trying to take shots, kind of, but also address the fact that, once again, the culture is changing. You have people like Little Uzi Vert and Young Thug who, I wouldn't want to say pushing an agenda, but basically they're just being themselves. They're sexually fluent, and they're wearing feminine type of clothing and purses and whatnot. And they're on the charts. They're charting. They're getting spins on the radio. But someone like Maino, who's like the street rap and just talking about real stuff, he's not getting spins on the radio or getting that recognition or that notoriety. And that's why he says it's like you got to dress like a drag queen to get that type of attention. So I really enjoyed that song. It was funny. And yeah. So the third track was God Bless. And he's basically talking about his come up from the streets. If I'm not mistaken, yes, Fat Joe was featured on this song. And they're just basically talking about their come up from the streets, how God has always blessed them and covered them And despite the bad decisions that they make, now that they are famous and have access to more wealth and success, they still make stupid mistakes, but God always blesses them and he's basically always with them. The fourth track was Bag Talk. Basically, he's talking about getting to the money. This features my favorite MC right now, which is Dave East. And they're just talking about getting to the money. Getting to the money, not sleeping. All they see is a bag. Dave East talks about how he has a felony, so he's losing money in places like Toronto. And it's called Bag Talk, so you know they get into that bag, whatever. The fifth track is called Addicted to Pain. This is probably one of my favorite songs because number one, I like the chorus. It features an artist that's also featured later on two more songs on this album called Dios. He is a Hispanic like singer slash rapper. He does like kind of what Drake does, from Brooklyn, and he talks about still reliving and seeing images of traumatic memories from his childhood. And one thing that stuck out to me is when he says, my life is a wound that was never healed. So, you know, the name of this album is called Party&Pain. And I'll get into this later on when I talk about other songs. And, you know, this is the fifth track. And then we're basically listening to Maino talk about some of the painful things that he's experienced in life as well as in the industry, but how he kind of hides behind it by partying and just throwing himself into his gift of rapping and just chasing money. Like he sees money, he sees success, and that just kind of, he tries to use that as blinders for the actual pain that lies beneath before he was able to obtain the success and this money. So Addicted to Pain, I really enjoyed that. I also like where he says, where power lies, so does pain. And I think what he was trying to say was, when you're able to address the pain that happens in your life, that's how you get your power back. My camera just stopped. I'm so sorry. That's how you get your power back. So yeah, I enjoyed that song. That's one of my favorite songs on the album. Track number 6 was No Fucks to Give. Basically, it's straightforward. He doesn't have any fucks to give. He's fresh out of fucks. He feels like he only has one life to live and he's just going to do it his way. And then he also talks about how it doesn't matter like what the haters have to say or what the critics have to say, because no matter who he listens to or what he does, there's always going to be someone that's going to hate him regardless. So he might as well live his life the best way he knows possible with no fucks to give and just do him, which basically comes back to Helicopters, the second song, and the first song, where he's talking about in order to get to where he has to be, he can only be himself. So he's kind of restating these messages. You know, you're getting these messages of Maino is staying true to himself. He doesn't care how much hip-hop is evolving. His messages will evolve because, you know, he's walking this earth and you learn things, so he's going to put those messages out there. But he's not going to camouflage them behind gimmicks and dress in a certain way and doing certain things to get likes on the gram so that people could go out and buy his music. He's going to stay true to himself and do what he wants to do, because even if he does conform to what hip-hop is today, people are still going to have things to say. So, yeah. Number 7, Let Me Be Great. I also enjoyed this song because I think a lot of us can relate to this. Almost giving up on our dream. You know, he talks about he almost gave up on his rap shit. He talks about, you know, the chorus is saying how his enemies put money over his head. His enemies drank up all his Hennessy. Basically, his enemies are around to reap the benefits, and he just wants to be great. Let him be great. If you're not really fucking with me, if you don't really have love for me, you don't want to see me win, just let me be great and just go on about your business. Number 8 is Keeping It 100. He's basically keeping it real about where he came from and people forcing his hand. Like, basically, he comes from the streets, he comes from the gutter, he comes from the mud. And when he gets around certain people, he probably tries to suppress certain mannerisms about himself, but he's kind of saying that doesn't work. People will force your hand to show who you really are anyways because they will try you. So, you know, that was a short little song in between. Number 9, this is one of my other favorite songs, Party&Pain, featuring Dios once again. Once again, I said that's a Hispanic artist from Brooklyn who he raps, but he kind of does the singing, like kind of on the Future Drake type shit. And he basically talks about how he hides his problems behind partying. He doesn't like to talk about it with people because a lot of people are already waiting on his downfall, so he just suppresses his problems. And he talks about how he blows his money on tipping strippers and whatnot. He could have bought a Benz with that. So basically, he just blows his money and tries to suppress his problems by partying. So Party&Pain, basically, you get the gist of what that song is about. And it basically comes back to the title of the album, which is Party&Pain, where he's talking about the pain that he has experienced in different ways he has tried to mask it. On to track number 10, Do Better by Stacey Barb. I was really surprised to see that he featured her on this album, but then again, Stacey Barb is like an underground, underrated singer. I remember hearing her music on the series that airs on BET, Being Mary Jane, starring Gabrielle Union, and falling in love with one of her songs, which will be my wedding song, and I refuse. People be like, what song is there? I refuse to say it because I just feel like nobody really knows this song, and yes, I'm going to keep it to myself. But yes, it's called Do Better, and he basically is saying, if I knew better, I would do better. Now he is addressing his infidelity issues he's had with women. How he comes across a woman who's really good. He doesn't want her to leave. He keeps telling her that he's sorry. He keeps lying to her face, but at the end of the day, he knows he has to let her go because she deserves better. And now he's addressing the fact that he never really was taught how to treat a woman, but at the end of the day, something has to give because he has a daughter who's going to grow up to be a woman, and he doesn't want her to be treated the way he treats women. So, yeah. Track number 11, Tired. This was an enjoyable song, too, because he's talking about all the things he's tired of. He's tired of the injustices in the United States against unarmed black men, as well as just black people in general. Then he kind of adds a little comedic spin to it where he says, I'm tired of the fake niggas fronting on the gram. Anybody who follows Maino on social media knows he's always talking about staying true to himself, and he doesn't understand why people feel they need to put on a front on the gram like something they're not, but he just lets them be. And then he talks about he's tired of meeting bitches on the gram who look one way, but then when he meets them, they look the total opposite. So that was kind of cute. Track number 12, Family. Basically, he's talking about people he came up with in the streets, people that's been with him from the bottom. He's always going to take care of them. Whatever, if he got it, they got it, and if they go to war, he's going to war for them. Live For Me. This is my second favorite song on the track. This is basically a letter to his kids. He has a son and a daughter, and I wrote so many notes because it really just touched me. Basically, these are letters that if he leaves this earth for whatever reason, if God calls him home, he wants his kids to live for him and embody what he was about and just be better versions of who he was. He tells his son that, he's not exposing him to what he was exposed to in the streets. And he even talks about this on the podcast last week when he was interviewing with Joe Budden, how he enjoys New Brooklyn. He enjoys the gentrification because he's raising his son in Brooklyn, and it's a different type of atmosphere from when he grew up. But then at the same time, he doesn't like that people have to lose their home behind it. So he just talks about telling his son there's more to the streets, and that if he leaves, he has to fill his father's shoes and just be the man of the house or whatever. And he also said he apologizes for not being as close with him not being as close with his mother as he is with his son. That's the chorus. Then with his daughter, this really touched me because he just talks about a man respects a queen. Always respect yourself. You're going to be a woman one day, and I don't want you to run into a man that treats women how I treat women. And his number one goal is to keep his daughter off the pole. And then he goes into the chorus, I'm sorry that I'm not as close with your mother as I'm as close with you, but you got to live for me at the end of the day if I leave. It was just a beautiful song where he's basically telling his kids what he expects for them and his goals as a father. I liked it. Track number 14, Miss Me. Give me flowers while I can still smell them. He's basically talking about, y'all are going to miss me when I'm gone. When there's a bullet in my head, y'all are going to miss me. Don't wait until I'm gone to show love and show how much you love me. And this brings me to the first clip for some of you guys who watch me on Instagram, where he talks about how the industry is fake. Everyone will dap you up, yo, what's up, you good, but then when that person dies or get locked up, it's like, oh, I mean, he was a cool dude, damn, that's fucked up. Like, the world keeps going, so give me my flowers while I can still smell them. Don't wait until I'm dead to big me up. Big me up while I'm still here so I can know it's real. That's basically the message of that song. Number 15 was Gang Gang Gang. That was a bonus track because I think that's the only single from this album that I hear on the radio. And, he's basically talking about gang, 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 like, his homies and whatnot. And then number 16, the last track on the album, is titled Khalif Browder. You hear clips from the Khalif Browder documentary, and he's basically rapping about Khalif Browder's experience. And, he's Maino, I feel like that hits home for him because when he was locked up, he had to spend 23 hours in a cell. He knows what it's like to be confined like an animal to a cell and what it could do to you psychologically. And he just talks about how it's crazy how this young man came home and he wasn't able to get back into the swing of things, and he ended up committing suicide. So overall, the album was really, really good. I really enjoyed it, especially listening to it 3 times to decipher, to give you guys this quick album review. I was able to get the messages, and I just hope that you guys go out and buy it, stream it, do whatever you gotta do. We need a good mixture of stuff like this. We have the partying and the quote-unquote mumble rap and the get hype music, but these albums are very important too. Something to cater to someone who may need to hear this, about a man who's been in the streets, about a man who's in the industry, who's in the spotlight, but is basically saying, I wanted the money, but I don't need the fame that comes with getting this money from something that I like to do, because with the fame comes more pain.